Alright, let's talk about my last video. I recently put out a video called Can We Really Call the Roadhog Rework a Rework? And my main points that I really hit in that video were that the rework and the patch notes and the short little videos that we saw demonstrating the new abilities seemed to be a bit underwhelming. And I still stand by that, at least from that on-paper perspective in that short demonstration they gave. They just didn't look that good. It didn't look that impactful, and, that's that's the impression that I was given. The second point was that after that year-long wait, which, was teased back in January of 2023, it still didn't seem that, it felt underwhelming after getting all that hype and getting all this news that, oh my God, Roadhog, a tank that struggled with being balanced due to his identity being based upon almost that one-hit potential and sort of being like an off tank, as you'd say back in Overwatch 1. But yeah, those two things combined, the patchwork notes being a bit underwhelming and the period of time that it took for the team to finally come out and release any sort of news on Roadhog made everything seem a bit underwhelming and pointless, and that's where I posed the question, can we really call the Roadhog rework a rework? To me, it felt like a cop-out almost. I mean, we went from having Roadhog being a very underwhelming character for a while, since Overwatch 2's release, to, getting these small changes, which I didn't think were originally going to be very impactful or make him any better. And now I can kind of say I was wrong. I mean, I know a few people in the comments were agreeing with me, and I think that if you sort of look at things through a different lens, Roadhog isn't everything that we wanted him to be, but he is a lot stronger. And somebody pointed out it's a nice little quality of life change, and I think it really is. When you look at the tank meta right now, where Orisa is so strong, where Zarya has the potential to be very strong, Sigma's been very well balanced, Ball is a very niche character, Doomfist very niche, somewhat under, how he is. He can either be too strong or too weak, and there's not a whole lot of balance with it. But Hog has had a very, at least in my opinion, I don't have the numbers to back me up with like pick rate or win rate, but he's felt like a very niche tank until now. He, in my opinion, from what I've seen in my time playing with him, against him, whatever, a lot stronger. And a big part of that is like his one-hit potential is a lot stronger now. Back in Overwatch 1, that was his big thing. Like if you weren't careful and you were a DPS or a support or a squishy of some kind and you were displaced by Roadhog's hook, it was over for you. If you were in his grip, if he somehow got his hook on you, you were getting grabbed around three corners and across the map, and that was it for you. But now, after this rework, I think his one-hit potential is back. It was a lot of big news on like Twitter and TikTok, where people were like, oh my God, if you combo and you chain or you get the hook, pull someone into the pig pen and then hit them with your scrap gun, they die. And that was a really cool thing to see, that they sort of balanced his one-hit potential around those cooldowns in a way that for you or me who isn't a tank player, who's playing support or DPS, it feels a little bit more balanced and fair knowing that, all right, now Roadhog has his pig pen ability down. If he's looking for a hook, I'm in big danger because that means he's looking for a one-hit kill. But yeah, it feels like his one-hit potential has been sort of managed behind his cooldowns as opposed to it only being his hook cooldown, and if his hook was up and at him, then he always had that one-hit ability. But now it's more play around the pig pen area, hook you, and then take you out very quickly, if not in one shot. And adding on to that, somebody else talked about how his take a breather, vape ability, whatever you know it as, was a very nice quality of life change that makes him feel a lot more versatile. And in this game of Overwatch 2, where it seems like with the current state of healers, depending on how you feel about that, the name of the game seems to be sustainability, and having a healer on like a resource sort of thing makes him a lot more viable in this sort of meta, which I think is really cool. Like I said, I would love for another tank to come in and sort of play a role in the game. As weird as it sounds, I just like it to be in Overwatch 2 in its perfect form would be where every tank, every DPS, every support is viable, where there's a variety of comps being played, and it's not always just Orisa, Zarya, Sigma, whatever. There's a wide variety of team comps, whether it's dive, just anything. The more variety, the better, obviously, for a game like Overwatch. So the final thing I want to talk about is a point that I ended the last video with, which was talking about if we could really call what happened to Hog a rework. And I think we can. I know it's a different opinion than what I gave in the previous video where I was a little less certain, but I came across this little chart on Reddit which classified all sort of reworks as either purist, neutral, or radical. And they obviously show a few characters who have had reworks between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, and just throughout those games' lifetimes as well. And obviously they have Roadhog in that purist role where the rework brings the character to a modern standard, in this case to the current requirements and like meta of Overwatch 2, and also while keeping the identity of the character. And like as I sort of mentioned, his hook and his one-shot ability is sort of his identity. And while I may not agree with, every change or every categorization of every hero on here, like I'd have a lot to say about, maybe Sombra or Bastion, who are both in some sort of radical category. I'd have something to say or more to say about how they are categorized in this. I do think maybe considering that not every rework has to be as radical as Sombra, I think there's a lot to say for that. And at least from my current perspective right now, I know they've recently buffed Roadhog's take a breather ability right after the rework came live. I think that this purist rework, if you put it in that mindset and sort of frame things that way, is very beneficial for him in the game. It sets this precedent that not every rework that's in this game needs to be as radical as Sombra's or even Bastion's, as according to this chart. But yeah, I just think that this is an interesting perspective to have on it. So I mean, overall, after seeing Roadhog and his new changes in his ability in the game, I do think that his changes are for the better. And I think it's an interesting thing to keep in mind moving forward, that this purist idea of a rework where, you keep the identity but you still bring them to this Overwatch 2 standard. And I mean, if it means that Roadhog gets to be a little more viable and a little bit more playable, then I'm all here for it.